Hi everyone, welcome to today's lesson. Today we're going to start working with the rubric / the checklist that will work for our argument writing. Our goal today is going to be to understand that rubric and to use it to judge our own writing. You'll get to look at your own writing a little bit later. We'll use some model and sample writings to do this first part. So first we have to understand a little bit of the format of the essay. So we'll do this one as kind of a structured essay. It'll be 5 to 6 paragraphs. You'll kind of decide how much argument yours needs. But you're going to make sure kind of the one thing you want to have in there is at least 2 counterclaim paragraphs. Those should be kind of the heart of your writing. You'll have one body paragraph where you don't necessarily need to address the other side. And then if you need another paragraph, that's either another body or another counterclaim paragraph. And we'll have an intro and a closing. So we'll go through all those steps, what all that stuff looks like as we go through and once we finish the actual novel. But we've already gone through the structure for the body paragraph. I'm not going to read through this again, but essentially you have an introduction, you lead into that text evidence, you have an explanation of the text evidence, you have a citation in there. So we'll be looking for all those same things when you're doing a body paragraph for your longer essay. And same thing for the counterclaim. Essentially, you're going through kind of that body paragraph twice. You're kind of putting 2 separate ideas together. So you introduce the opposition, make a whole argument for them, and then you go against them with your idea. So you can check back any of the previous lessons that deal with counterclaim if you need a little bit of review of that stuff. But we won't spend too much time going over the body and the counterclaim because we've done work with that as we've been through this novel. So the rubric, this is what it'll look like. I'll go back and forth between calling it a rubric and a checklist because it is a rubric in that it tells you all the things that you need to be looking for and doing in your writing. But I also like to think of it as a checklist because as I go through, like I'm actually going to use this to say, yes, I'm doing this thing in my essay, I'm starting to do this thing in my essay, or I'm not doing this thing in my essay. So if we take a closer look, it essentially goes through each part. So my intro paragraph, and we'll go into the parts of an intro later, but has a hook, explains the topic, has a thesis statement. Body paragraph has all those things that we just listed. Counterclaim paragraph. Again, take a closer look at those as you're working through yours. And then when we actually start doing the writing, we'll look a little more closely at this rubric. And then the second part, the closing, the actual like what's going on in your arguments, and then just the writing itself. As you're going through this, like you're going to check this off for your essay. If you're realizing that you have a couple of categories where you don't have yeses, that's going to be areas where you're going to say, okay, this is something that I'm going to go back and look at a little more closely. So we're going to practice this. On the course page, I have both the rubric posted and a model essay posted. I did that for my own topic. We'll use a couple different versions of it, but I wanted to pull a body paragraph and a counterclaim paragraph to kind of go through this process of how am I going to look at this using this rubric. So as I go through, I want to go through piece by piece and see if everything is here. So first I just want to see, do I have a topic sentence that establishes my argument? So the topic sentence is going to come first at the beginning of my paragraph. It's going to be one sentence. By the time I'm done reading it, I should know what's being argued in this body paragraph. So my first sentence says, and it ends right here, a person can belong to 2 cultures at the same time because for some people, one culture cannot offer everything they need. Okay, so I know exactly what's being argued here. I know the topic. This is what's going to be talked about through the rest of it. So that part is good. Like I would put this in, and sorry, this is the yes category, the no category, and the starting to. The headings got chopped off. So I would put topic sentence, yes, that's there. The next one is, and I'll switch my color for this, lead into the quote and build context for the situation. So if I go right from here, it says Arnold acknowledges that he's going to die if he doesn't leave. So I didn't really lead into the quote too much there. Like I think I could have used some more explanation here. I do a little bit. I don't just go right into the quote. Like I would put it kind of between the, and you can half it if you need to. I would put it between the starting to and the no category, kind of leaning more towards the no. For text evidence, do I have text evidence that supports my writing, goes with my topic, is the proper length, it's not taking up half of my paragraph. Mine says Arnold acknowledges that he's going to die if he doesn't leave. So I'm showing him existing in 2 cultures. This is showing him like needing to be in that other culture, that he can't just stay in his one culture. But obviously I'm gonna, so sorry, that I would call that a yes. And then I need an explanation that's gonna tie all that together. So that's kind of the rest of my paragraph. Hopefully by the time I'm done reading this, all of this kind of ties together. Arnold's oppression on the reservation was leading him to the same spiral of anger and depression that those before him were crushed under. Instead of letting himself be crushed under that weight, Arnold decided that he needed the hope that would come from an education in White Reardon. Yet he chose to continue living on the reservation because he knew that he needed both his Indian culture and his white culture to feel fulfilled. And you can see this last sentence essentially says almost the same thing as the topic sentence. Like, I'm bringing it back there, I'm using some evidence. So I think that my explanation does a pretty decent job. So it's just that lead in that I'm missing, which again is like a quarter of what I'm looking for in that paragraph. So that's what I would go back. I would go back and do some more work right around here with making sure that I have the necessary context before I go into that topic. And if I were to go back and add it, like, it might look something like this. Arnold needed a sense of family from his Indian culture, but also needed the white culture to give him a sense of hope and purpose. And he acknowledges that I'm going to die if he doesn't leave. So I try to build in a little bit of context there, which would then make this a little bit better. So as I go through the counterclaim, I'm going through this checklist, but I'm also essentially going to use that body paragraph checklist too, because a counterclaim paragraph is kind of like two different body paragraphs. As I'm going through this, I'm looking to see that it has all those parts. So I'm going to let you go through and do the work for this one. And then in today's assignment, it's going to ask you to go through and grade a counterclaim paragraph, a body paragraph, and bring this work back to our own essays.